The galaxy had watched Earth from a distance for many years. Most alien races believed humans were strange, wild, and far too unpredictable to understand. Some respected them, some feared them, and some, like the Deathworlders, wanted to test them. The Deathworlders were known across the stars as the strongest soldiers in the galaxy. They came from planets where life was a daily fight for survival. Their bodies were powerful, their senses sharp, and their training endless. They believed no world could challenge them. They believed no species could stand against them. That belief would soon be tested. The story began on a quiet night on Earth, when the sky above the Pacific Ocean suddenly split apart with a loud crackling sound. Bright lines of blue light crossed the clouds as something huge entered the atmosphere. People on the shores saw flashes like falling stars. But these were not stars. These were ships, warships, 20 of them. Each ship carried 100 Deathworlder soldiers, making a total of 2,000. Their mission was simple: enter the zone humans called the Kill Zone and test the planet's strength. No one had ever come back alive from that place, not humans, not animals, not explorers. The area was avoided by everyone. It was a silent part of Earth that even satellites refused to map clearly. But the Deathworlders did not believe in fear. They believed in power. Their commander, a tall soldier with dark armor across his entire body, stood at the front of the largest warship. He looked down at Earth, studying its blue oceans and green lands. He spoke in a deep voice that filled the command room. Humans say the zone kills anything that enters, he said. Today, we will learn the truth. Prepared to land, none of the soldiers questioned him. They were trained to face danger without a second thought. They checked their weapons, tightened their armor, and prepared for the drop. Some of them laughed, saying humans exaggerated everything. Some said the mission would be quick. Others remained silent. As the ships dropped lower, sensors began to glitch. Strange signals appeared and disappeared. The lights inside the ships flickered for a moment. One soldier frowned and tapped his helmet. Something is wrong, he said. But before anyone could answer, the ship shook violently. A strong force pulled all ships downward, faster than they planned. The pilots tried to control the fall, but even their advanced systems could not resist the pull. It felt like the kill zone was alive. The ships crashed hard into the ground, but the Deathworlders survived thanks to their strong bodies. Dust rose into the air. The sky looked darker here, heavier, like something was pressing down on everything. The commander stood up and looked around. He saw twisted trees, black rocks, and strange glowing marks on the ground that moved like living lines. The air was silent, but it was not peaceful. It felt angry. Form groups of 50, the commander ordered. We move forward. No delays. The soldiers spread out and began to walk through the strange land. Every step felt heavier than normal. The ground was soft in some places, hard in others, as if it changed shape when touched. One soldier placed his hand on a rock, and the rock pulsed like a heartbeat. He stepped back quickly. Very soon, the soldiers realized they were not alone. Shadows moved between the trees. Some shadows were tall, some small, and some floated above the ground. No one could see their full shape, only their movement. The Deathworlders aimed their weapons, ready to fire at the first threat, but nothing attacked. The shadows simply watched them. The commander raised his voice again. Ignore them. Stay alert. They want to scare us, but even he felt something strange in the air. The silence was too perfect. To control after 1 hour of walking, the first problem appeared. A soldier at the front suddenly screamed as the ground under him opened like a mouth. It swallowed him whole before anyone could react. When the soldiers looked again, the ground was closed. No hole, no trace, only silence. The commander stared at the spot, shocked. Mark this location, he said. No one steps here again, but the land did not stay still. More strange things happened. Weapons heated up by themselves. Armor became heavy like metal soaked with water. Voices whispered through helmets, saying things in languages no soldier knew. Some soldiers felt hands on their shoulders when no one was behind them. Others felt the ground vibrating like something huge moved beneath the surface. Still, the Deathworlders pushed forward. They believed they could conquer anything. But Earth's kill zone was not a normal battlefield. It was not created by humans. It was older, much older. Something had lived here long before humans walked the planet. Something powerful, something that did not like visitors. As night fell, the land began to glow. The trees shone with blue light. The ground showed strange symbols. The air filled with a soft humming sound that grew louder and louder. The soldiers stopped walking and looked around. The commander felt something cold run down his spine. For the first time, he felt fear. The glowing lights formed patterns around them, blocking every path. It looked like the land itself was closing in. The commander whispered, This place is alive," and the kill zone began to move. The glowing symbols around the soldiers pulsed like slow breaths. The ground under their feet vibrated with a strange rhythm, almost like the beating of a massive heart hidden deep below. None of the Deathworlders had ever seen anything like this. They were hardened warriors trained to fight beasts, machines, and other alien armies. But this was different. This was not an enemy they could see. This was the land itself. The commander held his weapon tightly and scanned the area. The lights in the trees flickered, and shadows stretched longer than before. A few soldiers shifted nervously, their armor creaking. One of them whispered, "Commander, something is watching us." The commander did not answer. He felt it too. The air felt thick, almost pushing against their bodies. The humming sound grew louder until it buzzed inside their helmets. Some soldiers tapped the sides of their helmets, trying to stop the noise. But it did nothing. Then, without warning, the lights vanished. Darkness fell like a curtain. The soldiers lifted their lights, but the beams barely reached a few steps ahead as if the darkness swallowed the light. The commander ordered everyone to stay close. The formation tightened. The soil beneath them felt warm and then cold within seconds. Like it could not decide what temperature it wanted to be, a soldier in the rear suddenly shouted, "Something touched my leg." When others looked, there was nothing there. But when he stepped back, the ground rippled as if reacting to him. The commander raised his hand. "No one moves alone. We keep going north." But north did not stay north. Their compasses spun wildly. Their navigation devices displayed random symbols. Even the stars above changed positions. Soldiers looked up, confused, realizing the night sky did not match their memory from just an hour ago. It was as if the kill zone was shifting reality. One soldier fired his weapon out of panic when he saw a giant figure move between two dark trees. The blast lit up the area, but in that brief flash, the figure disappeared. The commander grabbed the soldier's arm. "Control yourself. We do not fire unless there is a real target." But the soldier's hands were shaking. "Sir," it looked like a human, but much taller. Before the commander could respond, the ground opened again, this time wider. 3 soldiers standing near the opening lost their balance and fell forward. Two were grabbed by something and dragged inside the hole. Their screams echoed for a moment, then stopped. The 3rd soldier managed to crawl back, but his face was pale and his voice cracked as he said, "Something pulled them down, something with many hands." The commander felt anger rise in his chest. He was not a man who ever feared battle, but this place was wrong. Every step felt like walking deeper into a trap. He ordered a temporary stop. The soldiers formed a defensive circle. Some checked their weapons. Some stayed frozen, listening for sounds. The silence was too perfect. No animals, no wind, nothing but the slow hum under the earth. Suddenly, the commander's visor flickered and a message appeared, one he had never seen before. "Leave this place." The message vanished instantly. The commander's eyes widened. The message wasn't from his system. It couldn't be. Something had entered their technology, something intelligent. Before he could warn others, another message appeared. "You do not belong here." More soldiers saw it too. Their screens turned black, then white, then showed symbols they didn't understand. A few began panicking, taking off their helmets to breathe the cold air. When they did, the air itself moved like mist and passed over their faces, almost as if it was smelling them. One soldier shouted, "Commander, the land is scanning us." The commander tried to calm them, but even he felt the pressure. The ground shook again, stronger this time. Small rocks floated upward for a moment before falling back down. Trees bent toward the soldiers like they were being pulled by invisible strings. A low growl echoed through the area. It came from everywhere and nowhere at once. The soldiers aimed their weapons in all directions. The commander shouted for them to stay strong, but even his voice trembled. Then something finally showed itself from the darkness. A shape slowly stepped into view. It was tall, far taller than any human or alien the Deathworlders had ever seen. Its body was shifting, made of mist and glowing lines. Its eyes were bright blue, glowing like the stars trapped in a skull-shaped cloud. The soldiers froze. The figure spoke, but its voice sounded like many voices combined, deep, old, and echoing through the ground. "You enter a place that was never meant for your kind," it said. "This land remembers ancient wars. This land protects itself." The soldiers were stunned. They had never seen a being like this. The commander stepped forward, raising his hand. "We came to test this place," he said. "We will not run." The glowing being tilted its head. "Then you will be tested." The ground suddenly cracked beneath them, spreading in long lines in every direction. Light burst from the cracks, blinding the soldiers. The air grew hot, then icy cold. The earth roared like a storm waking after a long sleep. The commander shouted, "Hold your ground." But the land did not allow them to hold anything. The kill zone had awakened. The light from the cracking ground faded slowly, leaving the soldiers disoriented. Dust hung in the air, and the strange glowing lines beneath the earth pulsed like veins full of living energy. The commander steadied himself and looked around. Several soldiers had fallen. Others held their weapons high, shaking, unsure where the next danger would come from. The glowing figure that had appeared before them was gone. Only its echoing words remained in their minds. The land had warned them. The land had spoken. And now the land was fighting back. The soldiers tried to regroup. Their boots sank slightly into the soft, shifting soil. The ground felt unstable, like it didn't want them standing there. The commander ordered everyone to move to higher ground, hoping the terrain would stabilize. But as they climbed a small rise, they heard deep rumbling beneath their feet. The hill they were climbing not collapse bent, like a huge muscle tightening. One soldier lost his balance and rolled down the slope. Before he could stand up, vines shot out from the ground and wrapped around his legs. He screamed and tried to cut them, but the vines pulled him deeper into the soil. Several soldiers ran to help, firing their weapons. The blast burned the vines for a moment, but new ones grew instantly. Reaching for their ankles the commander shouted for everyone to retreat. The soldiers pulled back from the hill, breath heavy, eyes wide. The ground returned to silence, as if nothing had happened. The only sign of the vine attack was the soldier's helmet lying on the dirt, empty. The commander clenched his jaw. "We need to move. Staying in one place is death." The group continued walking, but every direction felt wrong. The path twisted even as they walked straight. Trees moved slightly when they looked away. Sometimes the air thickened like invisible walls blocked their steps. The kill zone did not want them to leave. Hours passed, though it was still night. Time felt strange here. The stars shifted again, sliding across the sky as if someone pushed them. The soldiers grew tired, but they forced themselves to keep going. Then, something new appeared. At the edge of a wide clearing, they saw shaped tall stone pillars rising from the earth. Some pillars were cracked, some broken, but each one had ancient carvings glowing faintly in blue light. The soldiers slowed down, unsure whether to approach. The commander studied the pillars. These were not made by humans, he said quietly. No one argued. The stones felt older than anything they had seen in their worlds. The carvings showed creatures with long arms, large heads, and glowing eyes. The same glowing eyes as the being they saw earlier. As they moved closer, the ground shook again, but this time, it felt different. It wasn't violent. It was a warning. One of the pillars suddenly brightened. A beam of blue light shot upward, turning the sky above it a deep swirling blue. The soldiers aimed their weapons, afraid this was another attack. But the commander held out his hand. "Do not fire. Wait." When the light dimmed, the carvings on the pillar shifted. New lines formed, shaping symbols that glowed stronger than before. They looked like words, messages, warnings. The commander stepped forward and placed his hand near the carvings. The symbols moved like liquid, sliding across the stone surface. Suddenly, a soft voice echoed through the clearing, not loud, not angry, just tired. "You should not be here." The commander's eyes widened. "Show yourself," he demanded. A mist rose from the ground, swirling around one of the pillars. The mist took shape, and the glowing figure appeared once more. Its form was clearer now, more solid than before. It stared at the Deathworlders with those bright blue eyes. "You have entered a grave," the being said. "This land remembers every war, every death, every creature that tried to claim it. It protects what lies beneath." The commander raised his chin. "We are soldiers. We do not fear death." The being stepped closer. "This place does not care about your courage. It reacts to your presence. The more you fight it, the more it will fight back." One soldier shouted angrily, "Why attack us? We have done nothing yet." The being looked at him. "Your arrival woke an old memory. This land does not welcome outsiders. It does not understand your purpose. It only knows how to defend." Before the commander could question further, the earth around the pillars shook violently. The being turned its head sharply, as if sensing something approaching. "It is awake." The being whispered, You must leave before it fully rises. The soldiers tightened their formation. What is coming? The commander asked. The being spoke slowly, each word heavy. Something older than your worlds. Something that once destroyed an entire empire. It sleeps beneath your feet. The ground split in the distance. A long crack crawled toward the clearing like a living thing. The soldiers stepped back, raising their weapons again. The commander shouted, "Ready weapons." But the being raised a hand. "Your weapons will not save you." The crack widened, glowing bright red. The heat pushed against their armor. A deep growl rumbled from below. The ground rippled like waves on water. The soldiers prepared to fight. Then the being spoke one final warning. "You wanted a test. Now the land will test you." The soil exploded upward, and something massive began to rise. The kill zone had only begun its hunt. The explosion of dirt and stone threw several soldiers off their feet. Dust filled the air so thickly that even the strongest helmet lights struggled to cut through it. The rumbling continued, shaking the ground like a beating drum. The commander shouted orders, but the roar under the earth drowned out his voice. Slowly, the dust settled and something enormous rose from the widening crack. At first, the soldiers could only see its silhouette. It was taller than the pillars behind them, and its shape was rough, almost like a creature made from stone and soil. Then glowing lines spread across its surface, like veins filled with red fire. The creature's head lifted, showing two enormous eyes that burned with molten light. Each step it took made the ground tremble like an earthquake. The soldiers aimed their weapons, fear twisting their faces. The commander steadied his breath and shouted, "Hold your line." But even he felt his heart pounding. The being made of mist, the one that had warned them earlier, drifted backward. Its glowing blue eyes dimmed slightly. "You cannot fight this," it said softly. "This guardian has protected the kill zone for thousands of years." The commander raised his weapon. "Then why wake it?" The being's voice echoed. "You woke it. Your landing shook the earth. Your weapons disturbed the ground. You entered a place built to remember war. Now it believes war has returned." The giant creature roared, a deep sound that shook branches from trees. The force pushed several soldiers onto their knees. Some grabbed their helmets. Others held their weapons tight even as their arms shook. One soldier panicked and fired at the creature. The blast hit its chest, but the light from the attack disappeared the moment it touched the creature's surface. The creature didn't slow. It didn't even notice. Another soldier shouted, "Our weapons do nothing. It's absorbing the shots." The commander made a quick decision. "Spread out. Do not stay in one group." The soldiers ran in different directions, breaking formation. The giant swung one massive arm across the clearing. It moved slowly, but its reach was huge. The ground beneath its arm cracked and lifted. Several soldiers jumped aside just in time. One was too slow and was hit by the shockwave, sent flying into the trees. His armor shattered when he hit the trunk. The creature lifted both arms and slammed them into the earth. The impact sent a wave of soil outward like a rolling wall. Soldiers dug their boots into the ground, but the force pushed many backward. The soldiers were swallowed by the soil as it rose like a liquid flood. The commander turned to the glowing being. "If weapons won't work, then what will?" The being's voice sounded tense, even afraid. "It reacts to fear. It reacts to threat. If you want to survive, you must calm the land." The commander stared in disbelief. "Calm the land? We are being attacked." The being floated closer. "You came with weapons. You came ready for battle. The land thinks you want to destroy it. It is defending itself." The commander looked at his soldiers. They were exhausted, scared, and fighting to stay alive. He knew telling them to lower their weapons was nearly impossible. But they had no choice. He shouted, "Stop firing. Everyone stop." The soldiers hesitated, but one by one, they stopped shooting. The air filled with the sound of the giant's slow breathing, deep like wind moving through caves. The creature paused. Its glowing eyes watched the soldiers. It lowered its arms slightly. The ground stopped shaking. A small hope sparked in the commander's chest. But then something unexpected happened. Soldiers on the far left side began screaming. The ground under them opened, forming a large pit. Dark tendrils shot out, grabbing their legs and arms. The soldiers fired at the tendrils even though the commander had ordered them to stop. But they were fighting for their lives. The giant reacted. It roared again and raised its arm to strike them. The commander shouted, "No, stop." But the giant slammed its hand into the earth, sending another shockwave. The pit closed around the soldiers, burying them completely. The remaining soldiers watched in horror, frozen in fear. The glowing being spoke again, voice heavy with sorrow. "It is not just the guardian. The entire land is alive. It feels every step, every breath, every emotion. You must show it you mean no harm. Only then will it release you. How? The commander demanded. The being floated close to him, its glowing blue light reflecting in his visor. Drop your weapons, all of you. The commander hesitated. He looked at the giant creature and the land itself, both ready to attack at any sign of threat. Then he looked at his soldiers, scared, tired, and unsure if they would live through the night. He had no choice. He shouted, "Drop your weapons." Some soldiers resisted. Some argued. But finally, one by one, they placed their weapons on the ground. The land became still. The glowing figure seemed to relax. "Good," it said softly. "Now, you may speak to it." The commander took a slow step forward toward the giant. Hands raised, empty. The giant lowered its head slightly, its burning eyes watching him with curiosity. For the first time since they entered the kill zone, the land stopped fighting, but peace in this place never lasted long. Something else began to move beneath the earth, something the glowing being had not mentioned, something even older. The next morning, word spread across the entire school about what happened in the auditorium. Some students, who used to ignore her, now looked at her differently. Others whispered behind her back, not with insults this time, but with confusion and curiosity. But the girl didn't care about any of it. She walked through the hall with quiet confidence, holding her violin close. The same violin everyone once laughed at. However, not everyone was happy. The group of students who mocked her felt embarrassed. Their pride was hurt, and instead of accepting their mistake, they became angry. One of them said, "She thinks she's better than us now." Another replied, "We just need to remind her she's nothing." During lunch, they approached her again. But this time, they didn't laugh. They tried to intimidate her. They blocked her path, threw small comments, and tried to shake her confidence. For a moment, fear returned. Her hands trembled slightly as she held the violin case. But then she remembered the applause, the cheers, the teachers' tears, the sound of her own music filling the hall. She lifted her head, looked straight at them, and said softly but firmly, "You can't stop me anymore." The group froze. They didn't expect her to speak up. She stepped around them and walked away with steady steps. That moment changed everything. For the first time, she wasn't the quiet girl who hid in the back. She was someone who stood up for herself, someone stronger than before, and the people who tried to break her realized they were losing their power. The commander stood still, his hands raised. As the giant guardian lowered its head, the soldiers watched with tense eyes, waiting to see if the creature would attack or listen. The earth stopped shaking for a moment, as if holding its breath. Then a soft rumble rolled through the ground, not violent, but steady, like something turning slowly beneath the surface. The glowing being looked around, surprised. Even it did not expect this. The commander felt the vibration through his boots, stronger than anything before. The glowing being whispered, "It is waking more, something deeper, something older." The commander frowned. "Older than that giant?" The being nodded slowly. "Yes, the guardian is only the surface. The true heart of the land sleeps far below. If it wakes fully, none of you will survive, not even the guardian." The ground trembled harder. Small stones bounced. Soil shifted. The giant stepped back, almost as if afraid. The soldiers saw this, and fear tightened around their chests. If the giant feared what was below, what chance did they have? The commander took a slow breath. "Then tell us what to do." The glowing being moved closer to the ground, placing its hand over the soil. Its light grew brighter, casting long shadows. The soldiers watched silently as the being whispered words in a language they could not understand. The ground answered back with long, deep sounds like ancient doors opening. Suddenly, a large circle of earth ahead of them collapsed into a wide pit. But this time it didn't form vines or tendrils. Instead, a staircase of stone rose upward from the darkness, each step glowing faintly with blue light. The misty being turned to the soldiers. "The land offers you a choice," it said. "Go down, speak to the heart, prove you are not enemies." The soldiers stared at the staircase. The pit felt like a mouth waiting to swallow them whole. The commander looked at his remaining troops, tired, shaken, but still alive. He knew asking them to go underground was dangerous, maybe even certain death. But there was no other path. He nodded slowly. "We go down." A few soldiers hesitated. One whispered, "Commander, what if it traps us down there?" The commander replied quietly, "Staying here will kill us. This might save us." They descended into the pit. The air grew colder as they stepped down each glowing stone. The walls around them hummed softly, like distant singing. Some soldiers touched the walls and pulled their hands back quickly. The stone felt warm, almost alive. The farther they went, the brighter the blue light became. The giant guardian remained above, watching them disappear into the pit. Its burning eyes dimmed slightly, almost like it respected their courage. After several minutes, the staircase opened into a huge underground chamber. The ceiling arched high above them, covered in glowing lines and symbols that looked like constellations. In the center of the chamber lay a massive sphere made of stone and light. It pulsed with slow beats, like a living heart. The glowing being appeared beside them, drifting effortlessly through the air. This is the ancient heart. It holds the memory of the first war that was fought here, long before humans existed. It remembers every scream, every battle, every death. That is why the land fears new armies. That is why it attacked you. The commander stepped forward slowly. The heart pulsed with brighter light every time he moved. The ground under his feet felt warm and steady, like it was waiting for him. What does it want from us? He asked. The being answered, truth, purpose. It wants to know why you came. It wants to feel your intent. The commander closed his eyes. He remembered the mission, the training, the orders. But beyond all that, he remembered something deeper, a simple desire to prove strength, to see if any world could challenge them. Now he knew the land had taken their test seriously. He opened his eyes and placed his hand on the glowing heart. Instantly, bright blue light shot through the chamber. The walls lit up. The pulse grew stronger. The commander gasped as images rushed into his mind. Ancient battles, creatures of light and shadow, planets burning, skies torn apart. He saw armies older than anything known. He saw a world dying. He saw the kill zone created not as a weapon, but as a memory, a monument to warn future civilizations. The heart spoke in a deep, calm voice inside his mind. Do you come to destroy? The commander shook his head. No, we came to test ourselves. But we understand now. This place is not a battlefield. It is alive. The heart pulsed again. Do you seek war? No, he whispered. We seek to survive. The heart paused. The chamber fell silent. The glowing lines dimmed, then brightened. A warmth spread through the commander's chest, almost peaceful. But then the heart spoke again. Only 5 of your kind may leave. The rest stay with me. The commander froze. What? Why? He whispered. The heart pulsed softly. The land must learn. It must remember new voices. It must keep their memories to balance the old ones. 5 may live. The others remain. The soldiers behind him stared in horror. Some shook their heads. Some stepped back. The idea of being trapped forever in the heart of the kill zone was worse than death. The commander lowered his head. The kill zone had made its choice, and now he had to make his. The world watched as the last 5 Deathworlders and the 5 humans stood together beside the silent crater. The air was heavy, but this time not with fear, only with the weight of truth. No armies moved. No ships circled overhead. No leaders shouted orders. Everyone waited. General Reese looked toward the human soldiers who now stood beside her like allies, not targets. They came from different places, different worlds, with different beliefs. But in this moment they were one unit. She could feel it. She could see it in their tired faces. For many long minutes, nobody spoke. Then General Reese took one slow breath and walked toward the center of the broken land. The echoes of past screams still lived in the dust, but she stepped forward with calm steps. She touched the ground with her bare hand. The surface trembled gently, not in danger, but like a sleeping beast reacting to a soft whisper. She understood something then. Earth was not trying to kill them for sport. Earth was warning them. Earth was testing them. Earth was asking them a question that few species ever received. Are you worthy to stand here? General Reese stood and turned to the humans. Your world is alive, she said. It fights. It protects. It chooses. And today, it allowed us to live. Captain Hale nodded slowly. He was tired, bruised, and changed forever. He now saw the Deathworlders not as invaders, but as survivors, creatures who shared the same fire, the same instinct, the same will to endure the impossible. We go back together, Hale said. Reese agreed. Together, the group began the long walk back to the surface camp. Every step felt heavier because each step meant facing the truth of what happened. 2,000 had entered. Only 10 remained. And yet, for the first time, the survivors did not feel alone. When they reached the command zone, thousands of humans stepped aside, making a silent path. Even soldiers who had trained their whole lives to fear alien species lowered their weapons. The sight was powerful. It was a bridge being built, not with stone or technology, but with understanding. A global broadcast went live. Every screen on the planet showed the 10 survivors standing side by side. A world leader stepped forward and spoke to General Reese. What happened inside the zone? She did not hide anything. She told the story of storms that hunted like predators, of gravity that crushed bones, of living earth that tested their spirit. She told them how 10 stood against what felt like the entire planet. She explained how the humans fought with them, not against them. And she ended with the truth that mattered most. Earth did not reject us. It accepted us, but only when we stood as one. Her words moved the world into silence. Then Captain Hale added something simple, but powerful. If Deathworlders and humans can survive inside Earth's most dangerous place, then we can survive anything together. From that moment, the story spread through every colony and every system. Humans were no longer the strange, aggressive species that frightened the galaxy. Deathworlders were no longer the unstoppable monsters that everyone feared. The two strongest kinds of life in the galaxy had fought side by side and had lived. The alliance formed that same week, not because of war, not because of fear, but because 10 beings chose unity over survival instinct. They signed the pact on a slab of stone taken from the crate of the same Earth that had almost destroyed them. General Reese received a message from her people. They wanted her to return home. She looked at the human soldiers around her and then back at her own team. No, Reese said softly, home is not one world anymore. Her words surprised even her own team, but they agreed with her. The Deathworlders stayed. They trained with humans. They shared skills, healing methods, survival techniques, and ancient knowledge. They learned from each other. Their cultures mixed in ways no one expected, strength meeting strength, but also weakness meeting weakness. Years later, a monument was built at the edge of the kill zone. It carried the names of the 1,995 who did not leave alive. And beneath those names were the words, "We entered as enemies. We survived as allies. We rose as one." People from all planets visited the site. They touched the stone. They took photos. They felt the ground tremble softly beneath their feet, not in danger, but as if the planet itself remembered the battle and respected those who survived it. The survivors became legends. Their stories spread to the far ends of the galaxy. Children grew up hearing tales about how 10 beings faced the deadliest place on Earth and walked out changed forever. But among the survivors, there was no pride, only peace. They held on to a quiet truth one the galaxy often forgot. Strength was never about destroying others. Strength was surviving with them, and that was the real secret Earth had revealed.